I am Dr. Marimit Isidro. Our topic for today will be the histology of the female reproductive system. It is composed of 5 organs. We have the ovary, the oviduct, the uterus, cervix, and the vagina. Let us now focus ourselves with the ovary. The ovary is lined by the germinal epithelium, which is pointed by the blue arrow. Immediately beneath that germinal epithelium, we have the tunica albuginea. Two important parts of the ovary, we have the cortex and the medulla. We will be able to differentiate this by the presence of developing follicles in the cortex, while the medulla only contains the blood vessels, the lymphatics, and the nerves. Again, we have the layers of the ovary, the germinal epithelium, the cortex, and the medulla. Let us now focus ourselves with the cortex, which again contains the developing follicles. The first stage, we have the primordial follicle. Characteristic of primordial follicle is the presence of a single oocyte, which is pointed by the red arrow, and it is also lined by simple squamous cells. Next stage, we have the primary unilaminar stage, characteristic of which is the presence of a lining epithelium of simple cuboidal cells, and also the pinkish halo we call zona pellucida, and again a single oocyte. Next stage, we have the primary multilaminar. By the word multi, meaning the characteristic is presence of a stratified cuboidal cells, and this time the zona pellucida is more prominent, and again the presence of single oocyte. Next, we have the antral stage. Characteristic of an antral stage is the presence of spaces which contains the liquor folliculi. Next stage, we have the mature Graafian follicle, characteristic of which is now the spaces from the antral, which is a lot of spaces, coalesce and becomes a single C-shaped space or U-shaped space. We will dissect this mature Graafian follicle. You can see that the oocyte is attached to the wall by the cumulus oophorus, and also the collective lining of granulosa cells, collective mass of cells, we call the corona radiata. And also the presence of membrana granulosa pointed by the yellow arrow, importance of which is responsible for the production of our hormones, the estrogen and the progesterone. Now we have high power magnification, the theca layers, which is composed of the theca externa and the theca interna, and the membrana granulosa. The theca interna is important because it is where the androstenedione, which is the precursor of estradiol. This androstenedione will diffuse and be converted by an aromatase enzyme to become your estradiol. Now, after the extrusion of the oocyte, it will become the corpus luteum, which is like a mass of cells composed of two cells. We have a theca lutein cells and the granulosa lutein cells. Next, if without pregnancy, this corpus luteum will become corpus albicans. Albicans meaning mass of white cells or fibrotic cells, Card's tissues. Next, we have the oviduct. The oviduct is composed of layers which includes the mucosa, the tunica muscularis, and the tunica serosa. The mucosa, as you can see, is only single fold as compared to your seminal vesicles, which contains of primary, secondary, and tertiary folds. This one is only single fold of cells and is lined by simple columnar cells. Also, the tunica muscularis, pointed by the red arrow, which is composed of your inner circular and your outer longitudinal layer. Let us focus ourselves in the mucosal layer, which is composed of two cells. We have the ciliated cells and the PEG cells. The PEG cells is the secretory cells, while the ciliated cells is the non-secretory, function of which is only for transport of the ovum towards the uterus. Next organ, we have the uterus. Grossly is a hollow muscular organ which is pear-shaped, and it is composed of three layers. We have the endometrium and the myometrium, and outer part is the perimetrium. Focusing on the endometrium are the presence of the uterine glands, which is a simple tubular glands. Next, we have the myometrium with indistinct sublayers made of thick, smooth muscles with blood vessels. And lastly, we have the perimetrium or the serosa, which is lined by the mesothelial cells. Next, we have the cervix. We have two portions, endocervix and the exocervix. And also, we have the plica palmata, which is a projection of the mucosa. Focusing now on our exocervix, which is lined by stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. And now we have the cervical glands, which is in the endocervix. The presence of cervical glands, which is mucus secreting for the function of lubrication. Last organ, we have the vagina. The vagina is composed of the lamina propria, the tunica muscularis. The lamina propria of the vagina contains loose connective tissues and without glands. And the tunica muscularis contains the inner circular and the outer longitudinal layers. Again, this is a higher power magnification of the lining epithelium of the vagina, which is a stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. End of lecture. Thank you so much.